You ever look at old NBA footage and think, how is this even the same game? The jerseys were shorter. The players looked like your high school gym teacher. They barely shot threes, didn't dunk often, and yet, those guys were stars. Now fast forward, the modern NBA is filled with 7-footers running the break, pulling up from the logo, and making passes that look like something out of a video game. So what happened? How did we go from George Mikan to Victor Wembanyama? Today we're diving deep into the complete evolution of the NBA player, how size, skill, mindset, and expectations have changed, and why the modern NBA player might just be the most evolved athlete in all of sports. Let's go back to where it all started. In the early days of the NBA, things were simple, really simple. No three-point line, barely any above the rim plays, and the game was slow, very slow. The dominant player back then, George Mikan. He stood at 6 feet 10 inches, wore glasses, and was absolutely unstoppable, but not because he was fast or flashy. He was just taller than everyone else. Players back then had day jobs in the offseason. Strength training was almost non-existent. If you could dribble with one hand and shoot a set shot, you were already ahead of the curve. Then came Bill Russell, who brought athleticism and defense to the big man role, blocking shots, sprinting coast to coast, and of course, Wilt Chamberlain, who was like a cheat code in a black and white video game. The man averaged 50 points per game in a season. This era was the beginning of the big man is king philosophy, and for the next 30 years, height ruled everything. As we moved into the 70s and 80s, basketball began to shift. Players were no longer just tall, they were skilled. This was the era of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with his iconic skyhook, a 7-footer who could shoot over anybody. If you're talking dominance, he defined it. Standing at 7 feet 2 inches, Kareem wasn't just tall, he was graceful. His signature move, the skyhook, wasn't just a shot, it was a weapon. Unblockable, smooth. It looked almost effortless, but no one could stop it. Not once in NBA history has there been a player with a go-to move that effective. Then came Larry Bird. Not the most athletic guy, but one of the smartest players to ever touch a ball. He wasn't blowing past defenders or flying through the air like some of his rivals, but that didn't matter. Larry saw the game differently, 2 steps ahead, always reading the court like a chessboard. He could shoot, pass, rebound, defend, and most of all, think. His basketball IQ was off the charts. And of course, Magic Johnson, who changed everything. A 6'9" 9-point guard who could pass like a wizard and run the break like a running back. He destroyed the stereotype that big men had to stay in the post. The NBA was evolving, not just in athleticism, but in creativity. In fact, the 1980s gave us the first generation of players who were training seriously year-round. They started lifting weights, running drills, taking care of their bodies like real professionals. The NBA became faster, flashier, and more skilled. But we hadn't seen nothing yet. If the 80s brought flair, the 90s brought fire. This was the age of Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's story didn't start under bright lights. It began in Wilmington, North Carolina, where he was famously cut from his high school varsity team as a sophomore. That moment lit a fire in him, the kind that never went out. He went on to play at the University of North Carolina, hitting the game-winning shot in the 1982 NCAA championship as a freshman. That was the first time the world saw that clutch gene. Then came the NBA. Drafted 3rd overall by the Chicago Bulls in 1984, he joined a struggling franchise and transformed it into a global powerhouse. Alongside Scottie Pippen, under Phil Jackson's triangle offense, Jordan led the Bulls to 2 three-peats, 6 championships in 8 years. He retired, came back, wore the number 45, and still dominated. Later, he'd finish his career with the Washington Wizards. Not quite the same MJ, but still capable of dropping 40 at age 40. Just to remind everyone who he was, it was never just about points. Jordan built a dynasty. He turned Chicago into a basketball city, and he inspired a generation. And he wasn't alone. We had Hakeem Olajuwon, the Dream. Born in Nigeria, he brought grace to the center position. His footwork was unmatched. He danced in the post, spinning past defenders with ease. He wasn't just blocking shots, he was timing them like a master chess player. Offensively, he could fade, hook, spin. He had it all. 2-time champion, finals MVP, and a defensive force. Karl Malone, known, the mailman always delivered. A physical beast with the strength of a linebacker, running the floor like a forward, yet banging in the paint like a true big. His pick-and-roll connection with John Stockton became legendary. He was consistent, durable, and always in the MVP conversation. A scoring machine who bullied his way to the basket. Then there was Scottie Pippen, Jordan's right hand, but a superstar in his own right. He brought versatility before it was even cool. A 6'8" forward who could lock up your best player, initiate the offense, and dunk on you if you weren't careful. He redefined the role of the point forward and became the prototype for future all-around stars. These guys weren't just supporting cast, they were legends in their own light. Together, they made the 90s one of the most competitive and dynamic eras in NBA history. Players didn't flop, they fought, and behind it all was a generation that grew up watching Magic and Bird, now taking the game to a new level, combining raw athleticism with refined skill. It was during this decade that expectations for NBA players changed. No more just be tall. You had to shoot, you had to defend, you had to win.
There's a dribble drive, nice move. Wow, did you see the move by the kid? That's cool.
The 2000s were different. Basketball got more individual. Kobe Bryant led the way, the definition of a killer. Work ethic unmatched. Footwork like MJ, but he added range, quickness, and a sense of creativity that felt modern. He trained like a madman, setting the new standard for what greatness looked like. Then came Allen Iverson, small but fearless. He changed the look and feel of the NBA. Baggy shorts, tattoos, cornrows, and a handle that broke ankles on live TV. We had Shaq, who was still holding it down in the post, a literal monster who made grown men look like kids. But at the same time, Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan were redefining the power forward position, combining size with finesse. The 2000s NBA player was more skilled than ever, but still mostly position-based. You had your PG, SG, SF, PF, C, and everyone had a lane until the game changed again.
LeBron James, the defining player of his generation, has done it once again. See LeBron, he jumped right out of the building. He looked like Superman. This is a bird. This is a plane.
LeBron James, 6 feet 9 inches, 250 pounds. Built like a power forward, moved like a point guard, thought like a coach. He didn't just play every position, he mastered them. Post-ups, no-look passes, chase down blocks, buzzer beaters, he could do it all. LeBron wasn't just great, he became the blueprint, the prototype for the modern NBA athlete. Versatile, intelligent, and built for longevity. Around him, the league transformed. Steph Curry changed the game with a flick of the wrist. He stretched defenses to half court, made every kid believe they could be a star from 30 feet out. It wasn't just threes, it was movement, spacing, rhythm. Basketball became a dance, and Curry was the choreographer. Kevin Durant followed, a 7-footer with a guard's handle and a sniper's touch. Too tall to contest, too quick to contain. He made the impossible shot look effortless. Offense redefined. Big men weren't just post players anymore. Now they ran the break, shot threes, guarded guards. Guards in turn had to rebound, switch, and protect the paint. The lines between positions blurred. Everyone had to dribble, shoot, pass, and defend. Meanwhile, off the court, a silent revolution was brewing. Sleep tracking, nutrition, shot charts, motion sensors. Training became science. Analytics killed the mid-range and crowned the three. Pace increased. Efficiency ruled. The game got smarter. This was no longer just evolution, it was reinvention. Players sculpted for every scenario, not just athletes, hybrids, adaptable, skilled, strategic, a new breed of NBA star. And now, we've reached something crazy. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a 7-foot locomotive. Nikola Jokic, a center who passes like Steve Nash. Victor Wembanyama, a 7 feet 4 inches alien who dribbles, shoots, blocks, and runs like a guard. The new generation of NBA players is taller, longer, faster, and yet somehow more skilled than ever. Players train like UFC fighters. Their diets are monitored. Their footwork mimics ballet. Their range extends past the logo. What we're seeing now is the result of decades of evolution, each generation learning, adapting, improving. From Mikan to Wemby, we didn't just get better players, we got smarter ones, more prepared, more complete. And as crazy as it sounds, we still might not have seen the final form of the NBA athlete. So, how far can it go? Will the next generation of players all be 6'10 shooters who move like guards? Will we ever see a true 5-position MVP? Or has the game already reached its peak? One thing's for sure, the NBA player is no longer just a basketball player. He's a machine, a brand, an artist, a scientist, a walking highlight reel, and it all started with a bunch of guys in high socks dribbling with one hand. This is the evolution of the NBA player.